And just like that, the market is in the green. Guys, today we are going to dive into the world of crypto, specifically taking a look at the market leader, Bitcoin, to see what is going to happen next. There's a lot of things that have been going on in the background, some fundamental kind of things outside of the crypto space that have an impact. We're going to go through a little bit of that. We'll have a look at Glassnode, we'll have a look at the charts, and we'll see what might actually occur next as we start to see a little bit of recovery here in crypto. As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, hit the like button. Really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. If you haven't yet joined us on Discord, links in the description down below. It's completely free. Do join us over there. We do actually pick up quite a few conversations with people, answer a few questions, and of course, share some additional TA. Right, with all that said, done, and out of the way, let's actually jump on over to the desktop and take a look at what's going on here. Okay, guys, so this is, of course, Bitcoin's chart. This is just on the hourly. We'll get into this in a moment. I think the first thing that we kind of want to acknowledge is the kind of fundamental things that are going on outside of the space, right? So one of the main reasons we started to see a lot of recovery come back in, or at least confidence that is coming back in the market. Okay, this confidence is coming from the Fed in this particular case, right? So there's lots of uncertainty as to what the Fed is going to do. And basically, you know, we can see Bitcoin now above that 49K area. At least it did actually briefly go above 49K. Now, the market thinks that the Fed's tapering plans are less aggressive than what was maybe expected, resulting in a good recovery from the post-meltdown, as it's labeled here in this article. Now, Bitcoin, it did actually rebound. It climbed up. Obviously, it has come back down a little bit from there. And this is really what this video is about, right? We've seen a good push to the upside. Nothing moves up in straight lines. And we're going to talk about what's potentially happening now. We start to see a little bit of a pullback from that recent push, right? So this is kind of the fundamental thing in the background. You know, people are labeling this up as the reasoning for it, and there's many different reasons that you actually see the market move in multiple different directions. Whether you believe that is from a technical standpoint, because there are people actively trading certain patterns, whether you believe there's manipulation, it was going to give good, it was being given good support, good resistance, etc., or whether or not you believe fundamentally, you know, things that happen to protocols or news-related articles are causing the price action. Okay, I think there's two different ways of approaching this, right? First of all, I believe that retail investors are more heavily led from fundamental news analysis because they don't generally take a look at or necessarily understand properly what's going on from a technical analysis perspective. When it comes to institutional investors, they are pretty much don't really care too much for the fundamentals. I think it's there at top level, but they're more actively trading, more I guess into the technical analysis, okay, and risk management and things like that. They usually use artificial intelligence to help them with that risk management aspect, trading, etc. Okay, so usually from an institutional point of view, things like the Fed have that kind of top level overview where they'll be waiting on the sidelines to potentially get in based on whatever the Fed are doing, but also they'll probably have good expectations of what the Fed are going to do anyway in this particular example. Okay, so it's important that we understand that institutional level investors will probably be using more technical, specifically if they're using fund managers, etc. Again, more technical led business models than fundamental. Okay, so I think there's multiple different ways of looking at it. Multiple different people you know, investing differently. For the most part, I think there's a mix of retail investors, some that believe in TA and some that simply do not. And again, I think the market being as young as it is, one doesn't actually outweigh the other. You need to have both. Okay, so you need to have a good grounded understanding of those fundamentals and things that are going on in the bigger kind of, you know, space versus and also, you know, I think you got to keep into consideration technicals as well, because the space being as small as it is, both players have an impact on the market, right? Both from a, you know, media point of view, just putting news out there, through to fundamentals of a protocol, through to trading patterns. Many different people are invested, but the market is so small, one of those players could heavily swing the market in their favor, right? So I think it's important that we, as retail investors, get a grounded overview from every angle as much as possible, right? So it's good to know what's kind of going on in the background, whether we believe that this has an impact on it or not. Okay, so that's kind of one of the things that's what happened yesterday, and obviously is leading to a recovery. At least that's kind of what people are blaming on. And again, you have a few people here taking this and then obviously running with it. So 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗪 here saying that Ethereum correction is done, and basically we've seen some retests, right? And I think it's important that we understand that, yeah, you could take this and you can take the technicals and get confirmation, right? Again, doesn't really help in terms of manipulation, but it gives us a pretty good stab, right? The other thing that I think is really important to kind of acknowledge is Glassnode data, right? So on Glassnode right now, this is one of my favorite reports because it kind of allows us to, see what's going on exchanges, right? And our exchanges aren't necessarily the best in terms of data because a lot of whales and institutions do, things outside of exchanges these days because ultimately, if they're looking to, manipulate the market, etc., they're going to be able to do it much more efficiently without Glassnode reporting on it, because obviously that gives everyone like us access to this information, right? So, and with Glassnode, the balances on exchanges, this is really interesting. Okay, so before we get into this one, I want to take a look at the inflows. Okay, so how much Bitcoin is actually coming in to exchanges. Right now, in the last couple of days, we can actually see that that amount of Bitcoin going to exchanges has decreased, right? It had a little bit of a push up and then it's pulled back down. Okay, so Bitcoin going to exchanges decreasing. Okay, what about the outflows? The amount of Bitcoin leaving exchanges is also decreasing. Okay, so not too much Bitcoin coming in and not much leaving. Okay, interesting. And then we have a look at the balance of Bitcoin on exchanges. This is increasing. So this raises a question. Okay, we have Bitcoin coming in decreasing. We have Bitcoin leaving decreasing, but the balance of Bitcoin on exchanges increasing. So interesting. You have 2.4 million on exchanges. Now, when we actually take that into consideration, when we take a look at it from a percentage point of view, you can still see it's rising up here, but basically 12.8% on exchanges, right? So the question that I have here is, are people selling to the exchange, or is, is there something else kind of going on in the background? Because if we're having less Bitcoin actually going into the exchange, then the Bitcoin must have already have been there in order for it to actually go back to the balance of the exchange. So it's interesting, and I don't know, the full reason behind it, but it's important that we do acknowledge that Bitcoin has less inflows, has less outflows, but the balance on exchanges is increasing. And this is going to be down to a couple of things, right? If we think about it from a balance point of view, the price of Bitcoin would have an impact on that. Okay, so as the price of Bitcoin goes up, but the net change doesn't, then actually what you end up with is an increase in the value. So what we then do is we actually take a look at the net position change. Okay, so what is a net position change? It's still in the red. Okay, so we still have basically a decrease of Bitcoin overall when you kind of weigh up the amount coming in, going out, etc. So that's still a positive in terms of supporting a bull run and not a bear market. This is what would happen under the circumstances of Bitcoin coming into the exchanges and never leaving it, right? Or not leaving it for a period of time. The net change is vastly different, right? And it's very obvious, right? And this is when Bitcoin dropped from 65k down to 28k. So it's really important that we understand that right now, actually things are very much in support of a bull run and not a bear market. But there are some obvious things that we should be considering, and that is that the bears still technically do have an advantage when it comes to TA. That being said, though, I think it's a short time overview, right? I think the bull run is going to continue into the new year, and I think we're going to see some very significant highs be achieved here with BTC, specifically just based on what we are currently seeing in Glassnode, with inflows going down, the balance on the exchanges being as low as it has been since 2018, and the net change is obviously very much in favor of a bull run rather than bear market. So all of these things are very important, but I do find it very interesting that the balance on the exchanges is increasing even though the inflows and outflows are decreasing. Okay, so really important to kind of know that's going on. And again, if we actually zoom out over time here, if we just go back to that 2018, expand this up, here you can see the curve that we've had on the balance of Bitcoin on exchanges. Really important kind of to get a good overview on that one. And here you can see, if I grab hold of that, so I get some to make any more sense today, 2.4 million on all exchanges. Okay, so really important kind of get a good overview of that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to jump over here to the charts, right? What has been going on? Obviously, we saw the completion of the ABC. This was yesterday. I was saying that we could either go up or we could go down, right? Pretty standard stuff. This is the kind of stuff that you see most people talk about all the time, right? And again, this comes down to if you lose support, go short, all those kind of sayings that you hear all over the place. So basically you end up with a scenario of if you go above the support level or go past the resistance, cracking, off you go to the upside. Okay, but lose support, then obviously do expect ourselves to pull back, right? So it can go up, can go down, right? So that's kind of the standard thing. So I got crucified yesterday for saying that, even though that's what you would kind of expect to hear considering these levels, right? We didn't pass through that resistance, and therefore we do expect it to pull back. And so let's not get that confused by me saying it could go up, it could go down. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that these are key areas that we need to be watching out for, and if we go past them, great. If we do not, do expect to come down, and that's exactly what we saw. As we did not pass through this area, we pulled back, right? This was the ABC move to the downside. Okay, so we saw this by failing to go past that resistance blocker. Okay, here's your A, here's your B, here's your C. Okay, completing that move there, and now we're looking for a pretty good move to the upside. So this recovery that we've been talking about is actually a very good one for Bitcoin. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, like we would always kind of do, and that is measure out this A wave right here. Okay, and we're going to just grab this and we're going to move it over here a little bit so we can see that. Okay, so we came up towards that higher area and we kind of found that resistance right here. Okay, coming in at about 49,500. Okay, now what we're looking for is a retracement. We can see the 618 is just on this line. We actually fell a little bit short of this. We can see here that Bitcoin fell down to the low of $48,500 and then started to push right back up again. Now, this in itself is an interesting move, right? And there's lots of kind of sideways trading. Now, this is normally kind of be a continuation pattern, but actually I'm seeing this as an ABC, right? So here is our bigger A wave to the upside. Here is our B wave down, and now we look for that push to the upside, right? We are not fully corrected yet, though, right? So we should be thinking that actually we're going to trade sideways. We might actually complete coming down into this lower area of the 618. That would actually be 48,385. Okay, so there's a possibility of coming down. There's also a really good strong support line at 48,200, right? So again, we could pull back to here, find that support, hold that support, and then continue. Okay, and I say this because the stochastic RSI is on its way to oversold, but it hasn't quite reached there yet. So there's still this potential, although we can go up. It's it's not usual that you see this. You can see it here, for example, A wave up. We had the half correction, and then we completed with the C. Oversold, overbought, halfway corrected, overbought. Oversold, overbought, halfway corrected. It could come up here, but normally what you would see would be oversold to overbought to oversold. Okay, so although it's possible that we get the reversal now and we push up, there's also a higher probability that we're actually likely to come back down to this lower area before actually going up. Okay, so therefore we call out the support level of 48,200 as a possibility. Doesn't mean it's going to come in. We could have already reached that bottom. We could, of course, wait like that stochastic without actually coming down much lower. But the main thing about this is understanding, right? So of where we're going to go. I'm going to be conservative, right? So we're going to say that we do pull back to that 48,232 level of support, right? And when I move this Fibonacci up, this then allows us to see where that C wave can go, and we can go ahead and put that just up here. That would be 51,195, right? So that would basically complete our ABC move to the upside overall. So right now we are looking for that last little kind of pullback just to get that completed. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but if it does, great. If it doesn't, then actually that puts the C wave higher. Okay, that puts it more up towards 51.5. Okay, so for now that's kind of my expectation here. And here we can also see that there's an ABC, okay, right inside this B wave, which again is something that you would expect to see. A, B, and C. This also supports the idea that we would not drop down to that 48,200, but I'm very open to the idea that that might actually occur. Okay, and then obviously we're tracking this C wave, whether or not we're going to go for the full or a like-for-like ratio on the A wave, or whether or not we're going to fall short by coming up to the resistance line of 50k, or whether or not we go impulsive and go past 52k. Lots of different options in that, okay? And what we really want to kind of highlight here is not that it can go up and it can go down, it could go in either direction. It's that this is a key area of resistance at 50k, right? 50k. By pushing past 50k, the highest area of probability is 51,200. And if we are lucky enough to see this continuation of FOMO into a recovery, and we push past that 1.382 area of 52.5k, then that is going to be an impulsive move, basically meaning that this was never an A, B, C, but in fact a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay? And that would be an impulsive move, basically taking this all the way up, in my opinion, towards that 53k area. So overall, lots of things to kind of look forward to here with Bitcoin. I do see this area of I guess pullback kind of finally coming to a bit of a close as we kind of think about working our way towards the end of December, getting into the new year, getting into some key areas. The other thing that's really important that we acknowledge is that weekly close candle, again, making sure that we're well above this red line down here at 47k, to therefore make sure that we stay out of the Gaussian channel, make sure we stay bullish, and look forward to what is lying ahead. Guys, I am going to leave the video there. If you have found this useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With that said, done and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.